Well, hey there everybody. Today I'm going to teach you how to make these really pretty paper stars. I've designed several of these templates and my first video came out on them about 5 years ago, and it's time to remake the video because our video quality has come quite a ways in the last 5 years. I have different designs. I'm going to be doing the star design here, but I have some with like flowers and kind of fleurs and scrolls and stuff. So there's different designs, but they all go together exactly the same way. So it doesn't matter if you use a different design or not. The construction of the star is going to be the same and you can follow the process. Now, I have some templates that come without this little additional hole that you're going to see in the back. Again, assembly exactly the same, it's just not going to have this additional little cutout. And the reason I'm featuring this one today is because I'm going to be placing Christmas lights on the inside of them and adding them to a garland on my mantle. So I'm kind of approaching them from a star garland perspective. But if you're using any of my other designs, they may not have that additional hole in the back, and you can just hang them up as they are with string or whatever, but all the assembly for that is the same. So let's go over the supplies you're going to need. Highly recommend a Cricut machine or some sort of cutting machine for this project. I do have a plain star template that you could cut by hand and just fold. If you would like that, you just won't have some of the additional cutouts here for the luminary effect. So you will see the PDF printables. The templates for these are all linked below in this video description. I have them on members.abbikirstencollections.com, or you can pick them up in the shops as well if you prefer to purchase them individually. You'll need a Cricut mat to cut out your cardstock on. I am going to be using a heavyweight cardstock for this. I have used 65-pound cardstock, but this one here today is an 80-pound cardstock. And the reason I went for a slightly thicker version is because I want this to last a long time, and I didn't want it to easily get bent or creased or anything like that. So between a 65 and an 80-pound cardstock is best for this project in whatever choice colors you would like. I'm using a quick dry tacky glue. I have used hot glue as well, so that is something you can try. In my other videos that were older, I did use hot glue, but this metallic paper I'm using here doesn't agree with hot glue very well, so I am using this quick dry tack glue. You may also want to have something like a pencil or a wood dowel to help push things together, and I highly recommend either some sewing clips or some bobby pins, and I'm going to show you how to use those to get the star together a little bit easier, because towards the end it gets hard to push the pieces together when you run out of space. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with this craft. I'm going to show you how to set it up in Design Space first, and then we're going to start assembling. The first thing we need to do is bring in the design file. So these files are available linked below this video in the video description. If you're on my blog, just scroll up to the supply area and you will find links for them. You can get this design as well as all my other star templates and many other craft files on members.abbikirstencollections.com, or you can pick them up individually in one of our shops. They are linked below for you. So once you have downloaded the file, you'll want to save it to your computer, of course, wherever you choose to save files to. They often appear in download folders, but you can save them to your desktop and other places as well. You'll want to import the SVG, so that upload button that's on the left-hand side in Design Space, you'll click on the upload and then click on Upload Image, and to browse your computer and navigate to wherever the file is stored on your computer or device. So here's my file right here, and you can hover over it and it'll say SVG or Scalable Vector Graphics. It may also appear as an HTML file. If you do not have a particular graphic software installed like I do, it may appear as an HTML file, but that is your SVG. You'll just want to double click on that to bring it into Design Space. Click on the upload and then select it under Recent Uploads so it is highlighted, and Add to Canvas. Alright, so there's a couple things we have to do before we can start cutting these out. First, you're going to need to think about the size of your stars. So for my star today in the video, I'm featuring mine at 4.9 inches wide by 4.5 inches high. I would not recommend going smaller than 3.5 inches on these, but you could definitely go larger. You could go as big as 11.5 inches if you have a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and you could make about a 23-inch star across, so that would be really cool for like the top of a Christmas tree. So think about the size, and if you want to copy my size here on the screen, you can absolutely do that. Just scale it using those scaling tools, or you can actually type in the exact dimensions right up here at the top of the edit bar as well. You just put your cursor in there and type those in. So this design right here, the one we've imported, one other thing we need to do after we decide on our size, I'm just going to scale this down a little bit. We'll do like 5.5 for this one. Once you've decided on your size, you're going to want to ungroup the file over here at the top of the layers panel and click on just the lines. So everything in Design Space imports as a cut line, generally speaking, and you have to tell Design Space, I want it to cut, score, or whatever operation you are choosing. So once you've ungrouped, you want to select just those black lines and go up to Operation and choose Score. You'll see it change to a score line on your screen. The final step is to click and drag over both the star and the score line and use that attach tool at the bottom of the layers panel to the right hand side. This is going to ensure that your lines score exactly as you see them here on the screen. Otherwise, if you do not use the attach tool, then the score lines will actually be on a separate map. So make sure you attach your score lines to your star, and then you'll go ahead and click that Make It button to go to the cut screen. You're going to need to cut 5 of these for 1 star point. So for my example today, I'm doing this mat here. This was my example mat, but I'm going to do this mat here. And I'm fitting 2 star cutouts to one 8.5 by 11 sheet. So just think about that relative to what size you're choosing. And click Continue, and it's going to connect to your machine. You can do this, if you're using a Cricut, you can do this with Explore machines or Maker models, either will work. And I'm going to select the medium cardstock setting. Again, if you're using a lighter cardstock, I do not recommend a very lightweight cardstock, at least 65 pound. I'm going to be using about an 80 pound cardstock today, and I'm going to choose the medium cardstock setting. If you ever have any difficulties with things not cutting all the way through, then you can always up the pressure to more here under the pressure setting. And I will be using my scoring wheel here, but if you don't have a scoring wheel, you can use the scoring stylus, or you could even just score them with like a scoring board or just fold along those center points. So we're all ready to go now, and let's go ahead and load our machine up and get these scored and cut out. Alright, so now our machine is connected, it's flashing and ready to go. I'm going to load my cardstock here onto my cutting mat. Make sure your mat's sticky enough to hold the cardstock and that your blade is in good condition, and I am using a heavyweight cardstock setting. If you are using a cutting machine like me and you have a scoring stylus or a scoring wheel, you're going to want to make sure that you have that inserted into your machine. So you may need to remove the fine point blade and put in the scoring wheel or the scoring stylus, and then go ahead and proceed with your cut. You will need 5 cutouts for 1 star. So you can scale these to a various amount of sizes. That's really your preference. I'm doing 2 to 1 sheet here of 8.5 by 11 paper, but you will need 5 pieces for 1 star. Okay, our cut is done now, so I'm going to unload my mat, and I'm going to flip it over and peel the mat away from the material so that it doesn't curl our cardstock. Sometimes you have to whittle some of these pieces out. It cut all the way through. They just like to cling a little bit to the cardstock, especially when it's thicker, so you might need to just whittle those out a little bit to make good confetti. Okay, so you need 5 star cutouts for 1 star here, and this is what we're going to be constructing it into. And what I want you to do is I want you to fold all 4 of them together like I'm going to show you, and then save one that you do not glue together, and there's a reason for that at the very end. So get everything folded, but leave one of them unglued for the time being. So you just want to crease along those score lines. If your machine scored them for you, or if you used a scoring board and you were cutting by hand by chance, then just crease along all of those score lines. And then you want to add a little bit of glue right here along that inner tab, and then you just want to close it. And this is where those sewing clips or bobby pins come in handy, because even though this glue is quick drying, you do need a moment to let it grab. So I'll take one of these bobby pins and I'll just slide it so I don't have to hold it with my fingers while I move on to the next one. You also want to fold down the 2 tabs here at the top. I'm going to fold them towards the outside, just like that. And you're going to repeat the process with all of these, leaving just one of the 5 star points unglued here. It's going to make the assembly a little bit easier when we're actually connecting all 5 star points together. And again, this is all assembled the same way. I have several other designs with different cutouts in the star, that the folding process and the gluing is all the same. So you can follow along even if there's a different design inside of the star. All right, so now that we have 4 of our 5 star points all glued together and the other one just folded and opened, we're gonna start gluing them together. So you'll notice that one side of our star has tabs and one side doesn't. You're gonna be connecting the side that does have the tabs to each side of the one that doesn't, and we're gonna be building it around that way. So you wanna first add your glue again. And then take the side here that doesn't have the tabs on another one and connect it. And again, this is where those sewing clips, or my favorite, bobby pins, work really well for just holding that in place for a moment while it sets up. And like I said before, you can use hot glue on this. I'm using a metallic paper that doesn't tend to agree with hot glue very easily, so this quick dry tacky glue is much better. And you're just going to repeat this process until you reach your last one. For the next part, we have this remaining star piece that we did not glue along the tab. What we're going to do is, of course, you want to make sure you fold those little 2 tabs towards the outside. And we're actually going to be gluing these 2 tabs exactly the same way, right in here and in here. But we're going to do it without this being closed. We're going to save that for last because it's going to give you more room for you to push your fingers in here, because this is where it gets tricky with these stars, is having the space to get your fingers in here. So we're going to be adding this part in with these tabs first, then closing it here to make it a little bit easier on us. So let's start with some glue right here. And this process, even this part here, it's all applicable to the different designs that I have, so you can still follow the same process. And I'm just sticking those in right there, getting them aligned. Same thing on the other side. Make sure it's all aligned. And this last piece requires some extra patience. It always is a little bit hard to get right the very first time. You have to kind of be patient with it and push it in, and you have to do a little bit more holding with your hands on this one. But with this back piece here, where this extra space is, where we're going to be putting our lights through, you can use a bobby pin to let that side dry and then kind of hold your finger there. And then this is where it can also be helpful to have that wood dowel or a pencil or something kind of skinnier than your finger is, and you can come in there and push it together, and you don't have to try and use your finger as much, because getting your fingers into small places can be very hard. Now, one of the most important things to do at this point in time is, because we're going to have to pull this star together to close it, you need this to be completely dry on this seam. So I walk away for a good 10 to 15 minutes. The quick dry does grab and dry rather quickly, but a good solid 10 to 15 minutes before you try and pull anything closed. Otherwise it's just going to slide off over here. So just set it aside and then come back to it in about 15 minutes to connect it over here, and then that's when we close the final seam to our star here. All right, so my star is nice and dry everywhere. I've added glue to this point. And what we're going to do next is we're going to connect these sides together and then close this last, and it's going to allow us to have a little bit more wiggle room to get everything to come together. So you want to start by adding some glue here to these tabs. And this is the most patient testing part of making these stars. So just take your time. I use those sewing clips or bobby pins to help you. It's going to naturally want to pull apart, so you're going to have to hold this part a little bit more, and I recommend sliding a pin in, add some glue here, because it's all going to naturally want to start to come together, so you don't want to be fighting that necessarily. You want to encourage it, and you just want to push. Now for this part here, you can add your pins and your clips, but you will want to hold this for a few minutes. It's the only part that I recommend that you do need to hold with your hands, because we're pushing this star together. It's naturally going to want to kind of just open up because we have to kind of force it to stay together. So you use your pins and your sewing clips to help you, but you are going to want to hold it with your hands for at least 2 to 3 minutes. You can also close the seam here if you want and then just push it together. Some people find one easier over the other. It's kind of really up to your style and how you feel comfortable working with these. So if it's more comfortable for you to close that last seam and then push together and use your bobby pins and stuff, then by all means, you know, take that approach. That's what I'm doing on this one here as an example. So this one I have closed that seam, and then I'm just bringing it together, holding it closed with my hands and getting creative with my pins. Sewing clips sometimes can help more on the last bit of this. And then again, using that wood dowel to kind of help push things together. If you have something also like a weeding tool, or like maybe like a crochet hook or something that has a bit of a hook to it, that can be really helpful. So I'm actually going to take my weeding tool in here because it has a little bit of a shape to it, and use that to push closed that area. And you would just repeat this process for all of the paper stars until you have made the amount that you are aiming for. I like to put between 5 and 6 on a garland, so again, really your preference based on how big that garland is, but odd numbers tend to look best, so 5 is usually good. 6 usually doesn't look bad either, but I usually like to aim for at least 5. Alright, so now's the fun part where we just add it to our lights, and you can place it on a mantle, a garland, you can even put them on a Christmas tree if you wanted to. And that little hole that's in the back there, you just want to sort of wiggle your lights in. I'll give you my exact dimensions for what I scaled these as well. That way, if you want to, you know, copy, you can. Okay, so let's go add these to a mantle. That's where I'm going to do it, but you could put them on a tree as well. So let's go set these up.